We now commence with session 4 for the day on chronic disease management, home and healthcare and health information technology. We request the session chair, Surgeon Rear Admiral V.K. Singh, Director Asia Simpler Healthcare, over the dais. Absolutely, sir. Thank you. We also request panelists, Mr. Sudarshan Jain, Managing Director, Abbott Healthcare, Ms. Nidhi Saxena, Founders Doctor, Mr. J.P. Dwivedi, Chief Information Officer, Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Institute and Research Center, Mr. Karthik Tirupati, CEO, Napier Healthcare, Mr. Saurav Panda, Board of Director and co-founder at Sparsh Nephro, to kindly take to the dais and begin with our session 4 on chronic disease management, home and healthcare with respect to health information and technology. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. This is a very interesting session, and I know after a heavy lunch probably you will be half listening to it. There are 3 components. One is chronic disease. This is one of late has taken a lot of interest in public and in the government. Second part is how to cut down the cost, improve the quality and use technology. The second part is domiciliary care or home care. And third part is how we can use technology for the last mile and for all of it. It's very easy to say somewhere in the auditorium of a 5-star hotel. But really, if you really go on the ground, because we have done some pilot at the primary healthcare level in Gujarat, and we find things are different. As Mr. Tewatia was mentioning, I really liked his comment that how much is internet you would be having which you can use is very easy to say so. Notwithstanding, I would like to say that chronic disease is 62 million people in India are diabetic, and 79.4 million people will become diabetic in 2030. 1/4 in rural area. So there are hosts of things which are happening. Now if you really see on a smartphone, I have written a book which is published in US in month of March on health innovation, and that's the time we did a lot of research for 2 years. 79,000 applications are on this smartphone related to with health. Something on wellness, something on calories, something on this. Now the US is concerned that it cannot go on. So they said you have to have a license if you want to bring anything in future. Present one, they are screening, and they have screened 15,000 applications already. So they will do so in next 1 year. So we would have this kind of a things which were coming up, but are they really benefiting the population, community at large? Is it affordable? Whatever wearable you may say. Yes, there are few things which has come, like glucose strip or glucometers. There is a lot of innovations done in India which is called Indovation. World Economic Forum has accepted the terminology which reverse innovations, disruptive innovation, I am not going into detail, which is already being accepted by the world over, and Western countries more interested in reduction of cost and not looking for the volume. So even they are looking at us. Now China has said if innovation has come, we have done a lot. So they have put up to World Economic Forum, there should be Chinovation also. Well, could be, I am not aiming in. Second issue is the home. There are a lot of players, my good panelists will bring a lot of things, and those are the one is a $2 billion market as per PwC. This is the scenario. I would like my panelists who are here, this is, yeah, please just introduce in one line, because I can, but I thought it would be better if you do.
Yeah, my name is Tirupati Karthik. I am the CEO of Napier Healthcare, a healthcare IT firm from Singapore.
Hi, my name is Saurav. I'm the CEO and founder of Sparsh Nephro. It's the chain of dialysis centers across primarily Tier 2 and Tier 3 cities in India.
Hi, a very good afternoon. I am Nidhi Saxena, founder and CEO of a company by the name of Zoctor Health. And I'll talk a little more about the concept I'm working on.
I knew the doctor in health, there is some doctor in. Good.
Yeah, I will explain what is the difference between a doctor and a doctor.
My name is Sudarshan Jain. I'm Managing Director for Abbott Healthcare Solution and also the Vice President of Organization of Pharmaceutical Producers of India.
I am JP Duvedi, Chief Information Officer, Rajiv Gandhi Cancer Institute, Delhi.
Now, this is I generally don't like when a panel discussion to have any presentation. But democratic way, I was forced by two people that they will like to have something, strictly by 5 minutes, etc. Balance of the people, I'll keep them busy, and after that we'll have enough time to question answers coming from that. Idea is not we want to show or they want to show their knowledge. We want to gain something, and in the end, what are the actionable points? I would request each panelist to give 2 to 3 actionable points. Nothing what happens in the United States and what can happen in 2040, what can happen tomorrow and day after. That's it. And I'm not looking at, like Vinod Khosla says, billionaire of Silicon Valley, with whom I had a lot of argument, why do you need a doctor? Computer can do everything. Computer can reduce, but doctors can't be replaced. But with this I am wondering, it seems so, doctor will be swamped by all IT fellows and other fellows, and you will be only looking after the pulses of the people. And that is what's going to happen. So I think I'm the odd man out here in this conference of etc. Now, we finished those 2 presentations. Please take only 5 minutes. Start with you. You have a presentation, no?
I do, but I can go without it. Do I have to take the laptop for the presentation? Where's the presentation loaded? It's there? Oh, okay.
Probably you can.
It's easier that way, yeah.
And it should be,
Yes, sir.
okay, good. And related to the subject.
Good afternoon, everyone. I just want to give a very few quick sound bites about healthcare. I firmly believe that healthcare must go home now, and that's the title of my introduction. What I'll try to do in the next couple of minutes is just to take you through what that means. In 19 years, having applied technology to solve intractable problems that healthcare professionals face inside or outside the hospital, at Napier, my belief personally also is that we must have the healthcare services available anywhere where the consumer of those services is. And that's what I mean by ubiquitous healthcare. You cannot have a patient wait and come to the reception of a hospital for hours, especially if they are old and suffering from chronic illnesses, ladies and women in particular who have bone and osteoporosis and those kind of issues. It's very painful for them. I have seen my grandmother, I see my parents, elderly parents go through the same suffering. It's not what you want. You want healthcare services delivered in the confines of their home, in the comfort of their own homes. And that's what technology should be and is able to do today. I don't want to talk about what everyone knows. I think Dr. Singh also talked about the number of diabetes patients in India, 62 million, and so on and so forth. These are all the statistics I picked up from WHO, so certainly none of them are my own making. But the point I talk about is there is nothing new in healthcare that we are able to do these days. There's always been a patient, there has always been a doctor, there has always been and will always be a way to treat their problems and provide them medication and consultation and care. But I think the biggest problem that we want to solve today is the access of healthcare for patients at the point where they want. You want to bring that convenience to the consumers, and that's what I believe is the need of the hour today, be it for chronic illnesses or any other management of diseases or conditions that patients face. So the point I want to make is the focus is no longer related to, when you talk of healthcare providers, the immediate imagery that comes to your mind, the narrative is that of an acute care hospital. It no longer is true, at least in the developed worlds that we work for, in customers in the US, in Singapore, in Australia, and other places. But the solution has now moved to the community itself. The hospital is moving into the community. We must support the movement of the skills and the healthcare services into the community. Few things come to my mind. I'm sure we are not the only people with monopoly and ideas. We have other healthcare IT vendors who will have probably different ways of solving those problems. But home care certainly comes up as one of the biggest elements there. Mobility, which used to be called mHealth before, I don't believe in mHealth anymore, because mHealth no longer is a new solution. mHealth is the way it ought to be. It is like saying we are an internet business. That was cool and good looking 15 years ago when you heard someone talk about it. These days that's not true anymore. Managing transitions of care as a patient goes through a GP to a cardiologist to a surgeon to a rehab specialist and back to the family physicians, making sure that the medical records and everything else travels with them so that they don't have to keep on introducing themselves and their issues to the new physician every time is another key aspect. And telemedicine, finally, I suppose most of us know what it means, but telemedicine underpins all these solutions and technologies that will finally deliver healthcare in the confines of the homes of people who need it. So I'll not talk too much about it. There are devices available that help you manage and measure your vitals on a daily basis, as needed basis. How that gets transferred from those devices to a healthcare concierge in an acute care facility, how they manage it and how they deliver the care on a proactive basis, moving away from sick care to health care, which is the way it should be. That's what we want to do with chronic illnesses. This is a little bit about myself and where all we are present in the world, but I shan't labor that point any further. And thank you very much.
Thank you very much. You've been really precise and put the point. Yeah. We all know the problems. We have been hearing in many conferences. We are looking at the solutions. And not only affordable solution, affordable could be, but optimum cost solutions. You may use innovation, evidence-based medicine, or whatever you wish to, but ultimately, what is the last mile? I was really impressed some young person who did some pilot in a Gujarati language, and ASHA workers are handling ITAB in Gujarat, and ultimately giving a health education to the pregnant mother. And she was so confident to tell what she's doing. And now the Gujarat government want to scale it up. Some kind of such solutions which can have last mile. So which can think of prevention, diagnostics, treatment, curative in the customized way in Indian setting and not what is happening in the US. I compliment that very precisely what he said, what he has to. Now I invite Nidhi because these are the two presentations we thought. And as per the website, I think she's also going to talk about home care.
Gentlemen, and many thanks to Dr. Singh for affording me the luxury of making a presentation here. It is not every day that a startup entrepreneur gets to make fancy presentations to such an august gathering. On most days, it is toiling on the shop floor, unless, of course, a VC comes along, and I hope the VCs here are listening. Any show of hands? So let me start my presentation with an anecdote. Since I started Zoctor, precisely 6 months back, the question that people ask me the most is, first, are you a doctor? Do I look like a doctor? I'm not sure how a doctor looks like. And the second question is, how did you get the name Zoctor? Well, when we gave the name Zoctor, I thought it was fairly intuitive. Zoctor rhymes with doctor. So Zoctor, Zoctor, doctor, doctor. But somewhere this has not been appreciated, and every time this question comes up, we have come up with some very creative answers, depending on who is asking the question. So if a doctor asks me why the name Zoctor, we have a very cheesy one-liner. We want to associate with Zabardast doctors like you, and hence the name Zoctor. But on a more serious note, Zo means life, and a life-giving doctor is a Zoctor. And that brings me to the fundamental premise that Dr. Singh was talking about. That if you look at the script of the healthcare industry, if you consider it a movie, The doctor is the Bahubali, or is the Bajrangi Bhaijan, depending on what you prefer. The infrastructure, the hospital, the staff, everything else are props. But there is one powerful force that is changing that whole equation, and that force is technology. So if we were to rewrite the script, of course it would be a heroine-centric script, and the heroine in this case would be the patient. Everything that we are doing, whether it is technology, whether it is medicine, whether it is the innovation we are creating, has to look at one parameter, and that is patient engagement. And this, of course, is a slightly fancy slide. I just put it for the kicks. But it basically says, what is the future of healthcare? Again, so what are the real challenges? When we talk about the future, what are the challenges? This is again an oft-repeated, cliched kind of set of parameters. So increased life expectancy, higher stress, rise in chronic conditions. So we are talking about lots of patients with cancer, with diabetes, with kidney disease, with hepatology problems, with psychiatric problems. So Alzheimer's, Parkinson's are the other big diseases. Then there is a low hospital and physician penetration. And we will just look at the numbers in India, more relevant to our context. Of course, we have exploding healthcare costs. And finally, there's a lack of uniform healthcare quality. So one needs to think about an innovative model. Now, closer home, when you look at India, we are talking about a $90 billion industry, 71% of which is with hospitals. So $60 billion market. And in spite of its $60 billion market, the penetration of the physicians and the hospital beds is as low as 0.7 beds, physicians per patient, per 1,000 patient, and 0.9 hospital beds per 1,000 patients. And 81% of this market is dominated by private players. So when you look at it from the lens of a home healthcare entrepreneur, the devil is really in the real estate, which means that no matter how many hospital beds you will build, how much infrastructure you will create, you will be 10 times behind the rising population, 10 times behind the need. And that is wherein we see the opportunity. So when you say home health care, it sounds simplistic, but then there's a whole science, there's a whole execution engine behind this. You need very deep medical domain expertise, you need customer acquisition skills, you need to look at the patient experience, the engagement which I spoke about, standardized protocols. Now I come from the clinical trial background wherein every single treatment, the clinical practice, everything is governed by a protocol. In the real clinical setup today, or when we talk about home care, do we have standardized protocols is one big question. Then logistics management. A patient at home needs remote monitoring, ambulances, a pharmacy, diagnostics, a doctor visiting, a psychotherapist visiting, a physiotherapist visiting, a dietitian counseling. So there are so many elements to combine. And finally, the technology leverage. So what is Zoctor? Zoctor is a disruptive healthcare aggregator platform, wherein what we are doing is trying to fundamentally change the way a patient's aftercare or post-acute care or chronic care is managed. Let us look at a scenario or a case study where there's a patient who has just suffered from stroke. He cannot stay in the hospital permanently, he needs to be discharged, but he needs support for almost 6 months to 1 year to perhaps a lifetime. So in this case, what Zoctor does is that we will take the debrief from the treating physician. A lot of our patients are coming from doctor and hospital referrals right now. And then we'll create what you call a high dependency unit at the patient's home. There we will put a 24/7 nurse, we would put an airbed, we would put suction pumps, we would take care of stoma care if it's a cancer patient, so on and so forth. And we will also aggregate what you call pharmacy, diagnostics, laboratory, all those services. Now again, what are the levers that we are talking about? Firstly, we do not want to do everything. Our focus would be on post-acute and chronic conditions. And this is very different from, Mera Doctor, Doctor on Call, very different from offering physiotherapy services, and I'm sure you understand which company I'm referring to. Second is we want to create specialized and standardized care protocols.
Could you please wrap it up in 2-3 minutes?
Yes, sir, I'm almost done. Innovative floating staff models for scale with a very low fixed bench. So this is another innovation. If I am going to service 10,000 patients, I cannot hire 10,000 professionals. What I'm going to do is simply train, accredit, and then let them manage the services with a standardized protocol. And your rest of the things, the technology is a given, analytics, everybody's spoken about here. To sum it up very quickly, what I'm trying to do is to create a pipe. And once that pipe is created on the superhighway, information superhighway, where I can access patients, there are n number of products and services that I can offer. And when I use that analogy, I do not intend to become a plumber, or for that matter, a doctor instead. I am just a humble doctor. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Nidhi. Really well done. And your 6-month background, you've done quite a bit. And I hope when I see you next, by the time you're a big entrepreneur, not only startups, with lots of assets to yourself. Now I have got a very mixed everything. Somebody from IT, somebody dealing with a cancer, another with a nephro, she's home care, a very senior person from the Abbott. So they really, ultimately what we are looking at it is how to cut down the cost, reach the last mile, and a good quality. Now I will fall back on Mr. Sudarshan Jain, who is MD of Abbott. And there are many models which are available. E-Aushadhi has been done in Rajasthan. Somebody said generic medicine, and somebody said something else. What we are looking at, that we have 42% population who is getting less than $1. How do you reach? What is the methodology you will be able to deliver? Whatever deliverables you take, and a quality remains the same. I think there would not be any better person than who can tell us that this is what inside the story is. We can do so, but these are my impediments, but this is how we are taking over. Mr. Sudarshan.
Thank you very much, Dr. Singh, and thank you to all of you. We have got an outstanding panel, and I will dwell with some of the questions. I've been part of this Indian healthcare industry for the last 35 years. When I started in this industry, what was important was acute care illnesses. It was diarrhea, dysentery, pain management, and antibiotics, anti-infectives, anti-malarials, painkillers. They were the domain of doctors. Last 20 years, the whole domain has changed. And chronic illness, you are not just prescribing antibiotics, you are not prescribing tablets. The whole concept of healthcare has changed. When we launched insulins along with Novo Nordisk, and when we launched antidepressant along ourselves as Abbott, Abbott has been part of this domain over the years. The very way chronic care patient is treated is fundamentally different than what acute care is. The time which a doctor is used to spend on an acute care patient when he sees in a private clinic, because India is still 70 to 80% is private care market, it is not 2 minutes, 3 minutes. It is a holistic way of treating that patient. And Abbott has been focusing on that point, and that's why Abbott is a diversified healthcare company, which understands the patient much better than anyone else. I will be talking today more of patient-centric issues, and then my colleague Dilip Rajan, he will be talking of some of the technological issues tomorrow. And we would like to thank Rajan Gupta who provided this opportunity. What we have been seeing is patient is the center of everything. And when we look at the patient funnel, what becomes important in chronic care, first is understanding the prevalence of the disease, which was not there. Like when we started diabetes, everyone said that diabetes affects only rich people. In 2% incidence was diabetes in 1993. But today we are talking of 14%, 15% in major cities. So there was a lot of work which was epidemiological work which was done to understand, to get the salience of this thing. Otherwise we said, it doesn't happen in our country. Thyroid disease doesn't happen in our country. Mental diseases does not happen in our country. So first is understanding the concept of prevalence. Second is, when we understand the concept of prevalence, doctors have to be aware of the disease, because doctor who is used to treating primary care, dysentery, diarrhea, He does not recognize the importance of way diabetes is treated or the way the mental diseases are treated. So the education of doctors becomes very, very important. Even if he is able to diagnose the disease, the patient does not monitor. So diagnosis and the continuous monitoring of the patient, so awareness, then leading to diagnosis of the disease, then monitoring of the patient over a period of time. And last and most important is compliance in chronic care, and which is a major issue as far as the whole country is concerned. So what we have been doing, I will talk of more pharmacological solutions, and my colleague will talk of more monitoring solutions. First, we said that education of doctors is very, very important, because unless the doctor is educated, it will not work. And can only the field force educate? We worked on IT solution. We have got Knowledge Genie today, which reaches to 55,000 doctors every day. The point which V.K. Singh was talking about is, can only diabetologists treat diabetes in this country? We have to educate physicians, we have to educate general practitioners. And what we have done is we have developed an IT solution, Knowledge Portal, which carries around 2,500 books, 20,000 journals, and the doctor, at the click of the button, there are a lot of case studies which helps to, besides CME programs, which we do physical programs, we have also Knowledge Genie solution. Secondly, in terms of treating diabetes and other diseases, it's a holistic way of treating the disease. So we have started diabetes smart clinics. We are doing a pilot in the city of Bangalore, where when the patient enters into a diabetes clinic, he is treated, he is checked with HbA1c levels, he is checked with weight management, he is checked with cardiac parameters, he is checked with eyes, and he is also checked with what diet he is taking. Based on that total profile, the whole treatment protocol is developed, and in one sitting, doctor can advise the patient in a holistic way. If he's suffering from cardiac problem, which is very, very common with diabetes, that has to be taken into account. So what we are using is IT solution to integrate and offer the clinics. We have started this on pilot basis. There's a right kind of electronic record system, so he doesn't have to move from one doctor to another, and the patient gets the right kind of treatment. So that is the second thing, and it is at the pilot stage, but it will take diabetes treatment to the next level, which is a major issue in this country. Thirdly, what is very, very important, in many of the areas, we are not selling tablets because the cost of treatment is very high, low. Most of the cases are cost of therapies, and that is what Abbott offers in this country. 70 to 80% of my tablet cost is less than 5 rupees, less than a cup of tea. But what is very important is giving that holistic advice. So when we talk to the doctor, he does not only prescribe tablets, he prescribes mobile applications today. Take the case of epilepsy. We have developed one EpiAlert solution. If the patient gets epilepsy attack, the patient, his 4 relatives, and doctor is informed, and the patient is taken care of. This is only one example, and it has been widely by Indian Psychiatric Society and other doctors in this country. Concluding, I will just say 2 things. One is education of doctors, where technology is important, mobile application for patient education, and then taking the patient in a holistic way instead of just prescribing medicine. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Sudarshan Jain. It's a really wonderful exposition. I would like to mention here to the crowd, wonderful what he has said that. We were talking of diagnosis to treatment, etc. Please do not do any survey or any diagnosis if you cannot treat a patient. Because if you told him that he has a cancer, and he says, sir, what do I do? Sell your house, get treated. That's not the answer. He is going to die early. Sikkim government is the only government in the country which had 2 states. They invited me, I went there, and they were diagnosing every population. They have done it 40%. They don't know what to do with the data now, and they don't know what to do with the patient which have been detected. This is very wrong way of doing it. If you do survey, must find that they can be affordable treatment for them. So I requested them, their group is there, Manipal Hospital is there. I think I met somebody in the morning, and they have only 22% occupancy. They have medical college. MCI requires more occupancy. They will be too happy to give at the very ground rate level. But they said, no, when our medical college, anyway, now they have done MOU and they can be treated there. And that is the way how it should be connected. The medical college may come after 5 years, 10 years. Small state, 2 districts, 42% people done a medical checkup. So this is one thing, that how we can have whatever models you have, public-private partnership, etc. Ultimately, keep in mind how last mile connectivity of IT, how I can give last mile treatment to the patient. Now, the next person is very important is Saurav Panda, because diabetes leads to, like he said, heart, something to do with the kidney. So he's the one who's going to throw light on that issue.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. I would start with talking about how I started this company, Sparsh Nephrocare, about 5 years back. I'm not a doctor and just wanted to start something on my own. And I found out that in India there are about 20 lakh patients who require dialysis, but only about 50,000 patients get it done. And the question is, why is it that so many people are not taking a life-saving therapy? And when we surveyed doctors, the common response that we found out was that people cannot afford it because dialysis you have to do 3 times a week, it's 1,500, 2,000 rupees average cost in India. People cannot afford it. I spoke to hospital managements. I heard the same views from them. And then I spent some time, I was in Hyderabad that time, sitting in a dialysis center of a big hospital in Hyderabad, and I started serving patients. And then I realized that the truth might be somewhere else because a lot of the patients were traveling from, Mirialguda or, Nizamabad. These are 200 kilometers away from Hyderabad, small cities. And if you talk to them, they say that the indirect cost of dialysis, that is the cost of travel, the cost of loss of pay, and in some way, even the loss of willpower, which is a very intangible cost, they feel that they are a burden on the society. That is contributing to their stopping the therapy, and they know that they will die when they stop it, but they anyways think of themselves as a burden on their families, so they would prefer to go that way than do dialysis. And we realized that the accessibility is the key problem there and not just affordability. And that ties very well to the topic of the discussion today of chronic diseases. Because I think in India, the healthcare setup is very well developed to treat acute care. If you require open heart surgery, if you require a total knee transplant replacement, you can go to the top-notch doctors. The infrastructure is, I think, on par with Americans and Europeans, and you can get it done. And the whole healthcare setup believes that because we provide such good care, people will come to us. But chronic disease requires a different thinking. You have to change the paradigm, how you are thinking about solving this. Because, per se, in dialysis, the patient has to travel every 2 days. So even if you give him the best of the best dialysis service, he cannot do it after some time. Sometimes when explaining to lay persons, I give an analogy that acute care is like buying a refrigerator and chronic care is like buying vegetables. If you want to buy a refrigerator, you might go through all the showrooms in the city, however far they are, and pick the best refrigerator you want. But when you are buying vegetables, you go to the nearest vendor, which you feel gives you the hygienic vegetable. You will not pick up rotten ones. But you will not go around the city looking for the best tomatoes available and then buy them. And that is the difference that we try to solve for. One of the reasons why this is a difficult problem to solve is the super specialists who treat such chronic diseases, they are living in our metro cities. Like in India, of the total number of nephrologists, about 90% stay in the 8 cities, the metro cities in India. And only 8% of the patients live in these cities. So the rest 92% patients have to be somehow treated by the same doctors. And that is where technology comes into play. And that is what Sparsh is doing right now. We have found out that nephrologists do want to treat these patients and they do want to reduce the travel time of these patients, but they don't trust the dialysis centers which are in these small cities. If you go to the small cities, there are hospitals who want to help these patients, but they cannot do it because most of them are proprietors who are running hospitals, busy with their own practice. They do not have time to run after vendors for dialysis machines, to find dialysis technicians, or to run after nephrologists to make them to come to their cities. And that is where we built a platform where nephrologists can do remote consultations. If a dialysis is being done, all the medical parameters the doctor can see on his cell phone, providing a good technology platform to take care of maintenance of the machines. And when we did this, we solved problems of both the sides. We solved the problems of the hospitals who wanted all these services, and we solved the problem of the nephrologists because they trust our quality. We have a given set of protocol that we follow, and using technology, we make sure that our technicians adhere to it. And that is where I think we have to go in each chronic disease, figure out what kind of technology is to be used, because the number of doctors cannot be increased overnight. We have to somehow, like Dr. Singh said, computers will replace doctors, but I don't think they will replace the doctors. But what we can do is make doctors more productive. Let doctors do what they're best at, which is doing diagnosis and treating people, and not, have to worry about all the logistics and financial burden on the patient. Because right now, doctors do all that on top of that. So that is where I feel.
Thank you very much. I have Mr. Dwivedi, who has come from the Rajiv Cancer Hospital. All of us know that though cancer is preventable, it is curable if detected early. But it's a dreaded disease. Moment you said you have cancer, person is sure he's going to die in a couple of years. So let's see, Raji, how Rajiv Gandhi Institute is handling this issue and how it can be scaled it up for the common man.
Thank you, Dr. Singh. So I was baptized in healthcare IT about 7 years back by some of the people who are sitting with the audience. And I'm sure they must be very happy listening to me. Now, being in a hospital, I will bring a little different perspective. I was talking to Dr. Doval. He is a director of medical oncology in our institute. I just asked him at which stage of the patient you can save. This was about breast cancer. Dr. Doval says, Mr. Dwivedi, you are asking a wrong question. So I said, how come? He said that there is a patient I'm treating. She is in stage 4 for past 9 years. So cancer has definitely become a chronic disease. And this is what at best our oncologists are aiming at. It cannot become like allergy or influenza or something that could be treated by a couple of doses. But making it a chronic disease is the best that we can aim for. Now, coming to home care or monitoring patients from remote, this is from hospital point of view, this is giving us 3 different perspectives. First is that the beds are scarce. We have about 100 waiting list, 100 plus, and we need to accommodate patients as many as possible. So instead of using the beds for the people who are terminally ill and we cannot do much about them, we can use those beds for the people who could be cured if the treatment is given in a timely manner. So availability of beds is an issue and we want to utilize. So obviously we want to send those patients who are terminally ill to their homes and still giving them an assurance that we will take care of you from wherever you are. Second is, obviously every time they visit the hospital, as somebody was saying, there is a suffering on the way. People are having comorbidities also. Osteoporosis is there, old age is there, cost factor is there. If we can keep them at home and still give them some sort of treatment, it is always helpful both ways. And the third most important aspect is that 15 to 20% of the cancer patients die of comorbidities, not really out of cancer. If we prolong their life by taking care of all the other side aspects, then medical oncology is making progress every day. New drugs are coming in the market. God knows, by prolonging 6 months, this patient can become from palliative to curative stage and can be brought back to the hospital and we do something about it. Now, how technology can help? There are several aspects. I was very happy seeing presentation from Mr. Agrawal of Cisco, context-based healthcare. So setting the context, knowing the information about the patient, what all the patient has gone through, what are the allergies, what medicine should be given, what should not be given. Electronic health record is one thing that maintains a single longitudinal record, and that can help any doctor treating the patient knowing what treatment should be given at a particular condition. Second is continuous vital monitoring. So if every day, twice a day, thrice a day, those critical typical vitals are monitored, and our electronic health record is storing the trend of that patient, we know how the blood pressure is going, we know how sugar is going, heartbeat is going, and all those vital aspects, and we create those trends, we will understand whether health is stable or deteriorating or improving. So remote monitoring is that aspect which helps. Then third is generating some alerts and reminders. So we can actually tell the patient, now your time has come to take the medicine, your time has come to go for the next checkup, your time has come to take the temperature. Wearable devices are there that could be worn. These days, unfortunately, our culture, as we are becoming more civilized, ailing and aging parents are living alone at homes. While their sons are pursuing or daughters are pursuing their careers abroad or somewhere in cosmopolitan cities, these people are not supported by the family or the immediate next to kin. And the people who are the caretakers are the employees who do not have that emotional bond. So those devices are dependable sources of measuring those vitals and helping the hospitals to actually plan out the treatment for them.
Thank you very much, really. Thank you. Well, now we will have some question answer from you people. And we don't rather want to hear what is the problem. We have been hearing it, it is on the net. Do you have a comment on the solutions? You have heard something on expert. Please tell your name, tell your whatever the brief, very comment, and if you have something to contribute for this panel. And the best thing is to be chairperson. I am grateful to Rajinder if he is around. The chairperson can never be asked question. He passes on. So I am safe. Yeah, please.
Can you hear? I am Dr. Sanjay Soni from Kota, Rajasthan, sir. मेरा बेसिक क्वेश्चन है सर, हमारे हिंदुस्तान में 4.5 लाख गांव हैं और करीब 5 लाख हेल्थ वर्कर है. कहीं 250 लोग रहते हैं, कहीं 500 लोग रहते हैं, कहीं 1000 लोग रहते हैं. ना तो वहाँ पे हम टेक्निकल मैन पावर भेज सकते हैं, ना हॉस्पिटल क्रिएट कर सकते हैं. और जो मेन प्रॉब्लम है वो एनीमिया, इन्फेक्शन, माल न्यूट्रिशन, ट्यूबरकुलोसिस एंड प्रिवेंटिव स्क्रीनिंग ऑफ द पेप स्मीयर. सर मैंने पिछले 5 साल में वर्ल्ड का सबसे पोर्टेबल, आज जो आपका मॉर्निंग डिस्कशन चल रहा था उसका मैं 10 सेकेंड में रिव्यू बताता हूँ सर. वर्ल्ड्स मोस्ट इकोनॉमिक स्मॉलेस्ट 5 सेंटीमीटर माइक्रोस्कोप मोबाइल बेस मैंने बनाया है. एंड नाउ वी आर क्रिएटिंग इट सॉफ्टवेयर डिजिटल इमेज प्रोसेसिंग से, ताकि अगर 10 लाख, 20 लाख, 25 लाख इमेजेस भी आती है तो उसको हम 1 घंटे के अंदर डायग्नोस कर सकते हैं. अभी प्रैक्टिकल सिनेरियो है सर, आप गांव का छोड़ दीजिए, सिटीज़ में भी अगर डॉक्टर के पास पेशेंट जाता है तो उसके लिए एक साथ में पेशेंट के साथ अटेंडेंट जाएगा, 6 घंटे बाद लैब की रिपोर्ट मिलेगी, 2 घंटे वेटिंग होगा, पूरा 1 दिन चला जाता है. और एक सिंपल वायरल इन्फेक्शन जिसको कि हम प्लेन क्रोसिंग ORS और रेस से ठीक कर सकते हैं, उसमें एंटीबायोटिक, एंटी मलेरियल, लॉट ऑफ टेस्ट, कॉस्ट ऑफ ट्रीटमेंट सब चला जाता है. एंड हियर द सॉल्यूशन इज ऑफ ओनली 1 रुपीज. इफ ए आशा और मेल फीमेल हेल्थ वर्कर जस्ट मेक स्लाइड ओनली, और यदि मुझे उसके अंदर थोड़ा रिलेटिव लिम्फोसाइटोसिस या एक्टिवेटेड लिम्फोसाइटोसिस दिख जाता है तो मैं प्योरली वायरल या एंट्रिक बेस पे इसको ट्रीट कर सकता हूँ. एंड वी कैन यूज अवर अनट्रेंड मैन पावर. इनफैक्ट जो डिवाइस बनाया है वो मैंने जेरियाटिक और इनफैक्ट पेशेंट के लिए भी यूज कर सकता है. पेशेंट कैन पुट जस्ट सिंगल ड्रॉप ऑफ द ब्लड wherein malarial parasite or platelet counts and total counts can be done in just 1 minute or less than 1 minute. मेरा जो पर्पस है सर कि हम लोग ग्रास रूट और बेसिक IT का यूज बहुत बेसिक लेवल पे भी कर सकते हैं सर.
Thank you, thank you.
मैंने प्रेजेंटेशन भी
Thank you very much, and I think it's really worth appreciating what innovative method you've done. And I suggest, you might have heard in the morning, I will tell NHSRC, you put your thing in that, and the government of India has enough fund to put it into startups like you. Okay. Okay. So meet me and we can help you because we want such innovative ideas to really scale it up and we want to encourage. And probably being in distance Rajasthan, you don't have that kind of a people meeting angel investors, etc. Very good idea. Thank you. Anybody else?
Admiral Singh, can I make a comment? Here, right next to you.
Yeah. Sorry. That's what left hand is doing, right doesn't know.
No, just two comments. I think taking on from Mr. Dwivedi's comments, the integration of the longitudinal EMR with the monitoring of the vitals and also the alert to both the care concierge and the next of kin. This is a ready-made solution. It's available right outside if you would like to see at the Napier booth there. But what I want to also focus on is the point you made, Admiral Singh, about the cost. I'd like to present a different paradigm to the audience here. Instead of looking at the cost, why don't we focus on the productivity of our healthcare resources? Meaning, I think there was a discussion point about taking a doctor plus a nurse plus a driver and going for a home visit. Whichever part of Delhi you are in, that would at least consume 3 to 4 hours. But if in the same time you could use telemedicine and some of the chronic illness solutions and managing their vitals through devices and things like that, you should be able to, in the same 3-hour period, do maybe 5 or 6 consultations instead of only 1. So my submission is, instead of focusing on reducing the cost, we should look at technology to improve the productivity instead of reducing the cost.
Thank you. Any question from the audience, please? Not questions, suggestions in terms of solution. Yeah. I know you have done so much in Arvind Eye, which is published in Harvard and Oxford. So we always like to hear how you evaluate.
Sort of a comment and a suggestion, because we're talking about chronic conditions. I think we should probably propose and promote the use of some sort of a registry wherein everybody can kind of contribute, because these patients are going to be going to multiple providers. And then if you can have some kind of a registry by which we're able to capture what is going on, there's going to be a lot of lessons. Because today, I think a lot of the chronic care management is kind of shooting in the dark. We really don't know what the problem is, we really don't know how big the issue is, whether we have an issue of compliance or... So I think it'll be very, there'll be a lot of learning. I think if we can promote some sort of a nationwide concept of starting with whatever, yeah.
Thank you very much, Mr. Tulsi Raj. Really nice to hear you. Anybody else has experience? Okay. Yeah, woman power. He has been talking about manpower. Yeah, please.
I'm Dr. Archana. I'm a startup, as many of them are here. I'm a healthcare IT consultant, both with medical and IT combined together. My suggestion to this forum is that India is still developing, and like the very beginning of this session, you mentioned that you started with primary care. So there is a lot of people who are not reached or don't have the basic facilities, and they have not yet been reached. So I think our system, our technology should be designed in such a way that instead of they coming to us, we go to them. We go to them, we find out the data, what they have, what they don't have, and we retrieve we get the answers from them and pull out the data saying that yes, these many people are prone to these kind of diseases. Once we have these diseases, the government can play a role in preventing or acting on that. And where government cannot act or prevent this, they can move into the hospitals. And once they are moved into the hospitals will get patients through into a channel which they had never explored before. So the patients are brought in, on one hand prevented, and the other hand they are brought into the hospital. And the hospitals, then you should use the hospital information system to manage the large amount of people entering into the system and have an enterprise-wide hospital information system to fasten this process and provide better care to them. And later, of course, and you may not be able to reach, but you should have, the patient should be able to have their own patient records to see where they stand and how they go about. I think what I'm saying is that although all this is happening in US or in any other developed countries, in India, the government can promote this by starting with the local population who don't make an attempt to reach or do not know what kind of health problems they have. And so if we reach to them, you will be able to promote and bring the patients to the hospital.
Thank you very much.
Thank you
for coming. Yeah, I now request my panelist, just in 2 lines.
Yes, sir. Surely, sir.
Yeah, just in 2 lines. What should we take away from this panel? Which organization can take note that what can be done tomorrow and day after, not in 2020?
So firstly, responding to the lady there, I think there's already a load on our hospital ecosystem. So rather than getting them to the hospital, what we are saying is, can we create mobile ambulances with all the basic amenities, like we mentioned, point of care diagnostics. He talked about a decentralized model of having nephrology centers all over the country. So I'm saying we should create mobile units and address the problems of the patients there in the rural areas. And the other thing that has come out is that, see, we are working on home health, somebody else is working on electronic health record. The gentleman there talked about having a common digital identity. There's a project that we are doing with one of the companies on having unique identities which across, whether I'm with vendor A or hospital B, or in a government program, my data is integrated, my epidemiology is getting collected, and whatever my outcome, the health outcome is getting measured. So I think the need is to really create a common platform or a system where all the different vendors and all the different players, be it private, public, etc., can integrate and get a unified view of the patient. That I think is the real challenge.
Thank you, thank you. Now I request from that side, just in 2 lines, what is the take of this and what organizers can note that it can be included in the report, that what can be implemented in next 5 years. We believe in 5-year plan, so let's talk of 5 years.
Sure. I think the key takeaway for me is the provision of access to healthcare facilities. I think using telemedicine as an underpinning technology, I think it's a great platform. I would personally like to think telemedicine is like internet. You lay the road, you can run a truck on it, you can run a bus on it, you can run a cycle on it, you can walk on it. You can do whatever you want, but telemedicine is the one that will bring access of and expertise of acute care facilities into remote communities. They need it more than anyone else.
From my side, same thing. People harp on a lot on affordability. I think accessibility is a key issue in India, and as we increase it, it will automatically solve for affordability as the volumes increase. One thing about all the technological solutions that are coming out, we face a challenge that the medico-legal structure of India is very, not concrete, and that makes it difficult when you are treading some line. You don't know which side of the line you are falling on. And I think one thing that the organizers can note here, because you would know the governments better, to push for more structured medico-legal lines in India, so that when somebody develops a technology, he knows what he's trying to do.
Thank you.
There's no policy around home health care right now. So we don't know what is right, wrong, what are the protocols to set. So I think the government should probably think about setting up some ground rules for us to follow.
Thank you. Very, really good question. With the 2 billion market, and there are lots of players in that from India and abroad, small to big, Protea to this, that, etc. Because I've been reading all about it. So this is really what is really required. What is the standard? What would we call it, a quality standards? Yeah, to my friend Sudarshan.
2 fundamental regulatory change which is required. One is telemedicine. At this moment, e-prescriptions are not allowed, and there is no clarity about regulatory guidelines on telemedicine. We need to come out clearly, because that will take the reach of chronic care much beyond the cities. That's point number one. Point number two is electronic health record system, which Nidhi was talking about, because the way chronic care is treated, records are very, very important. A lot of time is wasted of the patient. Every doctor has got his own way of looking at the patient. If we are able to come and standardize that process, that will go a long way in treating chronic care patients.
I'm going to make a controversial statement. Generally, all other industry, people go to market when there are 80% ready. Unfortunately, in healthcare IT, people go to market when they are 40% ready. I mean, I'm just being a little generous. So the end users have to really put their not skin, flesh and even bones in the game. So my appeal to them is be more ready and look at the solutions end to end, rather than trying to sell the products in islands.
Thank you very much. I think I have promised my next chairperson, Madhubala, that I'll finish in 1 hour 15 minutes. And I'll not take your time. For the next 5 minutes, which I still have, I'll sum it up and I'll hand over to her. Now the issue are two. It's in lighter vein because very serious talks have already happened. I liked A.K. Singh, General A.K. Singh, is he around? Anyway, he used a technological word called graveyard of technology, and it stuck to me. Really so, more so in the government organization. Buying in a computer, PC, etc. is no issue. Maintenance is issue, replacement is issue. And you can't dispose it off, sell it off because of certain government regulations. So they are dumped. This has happened, I have seen even in Gujarat. One room is all filled up because old windows, 7-year-old, and they are not using it. And some of this stuff was never used at all. It's something like as the UP government decided to give everyone laptop and it was sold in the market at some cost. So this was all dumped in one place. So he says he is looking after the whole telemedicine project of government of Rajasthan, and he says this is called graveyard of technology. I really like that word, and this is what happens with many of us, that we don't use technology. In the hospital also, some clinician buys something and it is to his fancy, and you don't use it optimally because everything has its life 5 years is generally accepted. And the last anecdote I remember, when I was walking through in the morning, I found transformation of healthcare by IT. I remembered of my medical days. Some of my younger colleagues of my AFMC are here. In 1965, when this family planning business came in India, and a lot of controversy. So my dean decided we must have a debate, and a student should speak, and the professor should speak. So a student I was representing, and professor somebody else was representing. And ultimately the professors have 3 daughters, he was trying for a son. So that is one, and I was not married. And dean said in the end, 2 eminent speakers, one doesn't know family and second doesn't know what planning is. So this is what IT in healthcare transformation going to be if we don't talk to each other properly. Thank you very much. Thank you all panelists.